Princess Ryan, thank you so much for coming on to the show. You and I recently appeared as guest speakers at a digital conference hosted by one of LLAG Radio's recent guests, Christian Kabuay. And, we recently spoke about Filipino entrepreneurship. So I heard a little bit about your story, but I'd love to hear more about some of the amazing projects that you'd work on. But first, I wanted to help our audience better understand your work. I know that a lot of people on the page, especially the Filipino ones, probably know who you are. But for the rest of our audience, can you explain, how you got started in entertainment and the kinds of projects that you've been part of in the past?
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all, for having me. We met at this one entrepreneur Zoom interview, and your story was very interesting as well. So I wanted to thank you first for having me here and for allowing me to share my journey, my mission and vision with Kids Group. So I am Princess Ryan. My first name is Princess because I'm Filipino. A lot of a lot of people when I tell them princess, I get two types of answers. It's either yeah, right, or of course you are. And then, I would tell them, like, in the Philippines, it's a very basic name. I don't know why here you guys are tripping about it. But anyway, so yeah, Princess. And then my last name is Ryan, but they think that that's literally my name. I'm just saying Princess as a title, to make it fancy. But my name is Ryan, so they end up calling me Ryan. It's like, no, it's Princess, and then my last name is Ryan. Yeah, just to get that confusion out of the way. That's like 99% of the time that's what happens. Ryan, because my dad is Irish, my mom is Filipina. I was born and raised in the Philippines. I was actually raised in the province in Visayas, so I speak Tagalog and I speak Bisaya fluently. So sa mga Tagalog dyan o sa mga Bisaya nga audience nato, hello sa inyo tanan. So yeah, I was just like any other kid in the Philippines. Our main goal back home is to become a celebrity, to be on TV, make our family and friends proud of us. In the Philippines, that's like the ultimate goal because Filipinos, it's so, we're very talented to begin with. So the show business industry, entertainment industry is like our number one in the Philippines when it comes to like choices of careers and stuff like that. So yeah, I was a little girl dreaming of being on TV, even though we didn't have the TV. I would just sneak into our neighbor and peek in their windows. And that's how to watch TV before. A lot of people can't really picture how I was growing up because it's like, okay, you have an American dad, but you live in the province and you don't have anything. Yeah, it was a crazy. My story is pretty crazy. My mom was here in California. She was married before and had a family, so she was here for like 20 years. And then when she met my dad, I remember she was telling me that the reason why she wanted to raise her second, family, her kids in the Philippines is that so she can discipline us. Because here, she's saying that her kids, the first batch here in America, they were raised and they had no respect or whatever. I'm pretty sure she just means like she can't, hit them. But yeah, we were there. She decided to raise us there. My dad didn't even know that I existed. She just sent like a Valentine card saying like, Happy Valentine's from Princess. I remember talking to my dad and he was like, Princess? Who is that? Is that my ex-girlfriend or something? And then my mom said, well, actually, you have a daughter. She's here in the province. I'm leaving her with my mother. So I was raised by my grandma. And she came back here in the States. But when she left me when I was like 3 months old, and I was raised by my grandma and my aunties in this province, and I thought they were my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, it was just, my grandma had nothing really, so we lived in a small hut. Um, with having the ground, the soil as our floor, and having just like pieces of wood and cloth as our like window and
Mm-hmm.
door. And we wouldn't have electricity. When it's nighttime, we would just have candles. We would just have like lugaw most of the time as our food. That's
Mm-hmm.
porridge in English. So I lived like a super simple life, and for other people it might seem like, oh my God, she was poor before.
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I remember when I was a kid, I never really saw myself as like poor, or because everybody around me, we were the same. We
Yeah, it
all
was just
had
normal for you.
the same. Exactly. Yeah, it was just that's just how life was,
Mm-hmm.
and um but the one thing that I noticed is that I was the only light-skinned kid in the village.
Hmm.
And I was like, what's up with that? All my friends, they dark skin, and I love their skin. I would actually be so envious. Like, I mean, I love my skin too, but I would really admire their dark skin. And for some reason, they would always tell me like, oh, we don't like it, or they weren't that proud, and I would always be confused about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then because you're different, right? Whenever you're different in a circle of friends or village or whatever, they would pick on you because you're the one that's sticking out like a sore thumb. So I would always get bullied and stuff like that. So there were a lot of times where I had to, work on my
Mm-hmm.
confidence level. Uh, and then I started singing. My mom was a singer. My whole family was actually into singing, so they
Wow.
trained me into singing. I started here and there. My neighbors would like give me 1 peso every time I would sing to
Mm-hmm.
them. So that would be, what I would collect to buy food and dinner and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But then I discovered dancing for some reason. Somebody would like sing that's a little bit upbeat, and then people would be dancing, and I would just be freestyling.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't know if the Filipinos remember. I'm sure they do. The spaghetti pababa. Have you learned that, Rainier? The spaghetti pababa. No.
I feel like I've seen it before. It's like one of those things. Like it sounds familiar in my memories, but keep.
Yeah, kind of like ocho ocho, but then that, I think that was before ocho ocho. Anyway, it's like a novelty thing, right? So
Uh-huh.
that was like our TikTok before, where there's a famous song and
Ah.
it comes with this step where you do this,
Mm-hmm.
and then and everybody was doing it, so I was like, okay, I want to try it. And apparently, my body was super stiff because I was super thin as a kid, right? I was a stick,
Mm-hmm.
and it would just look weird and awkward. And then my family members, my cousins, they would just constantly make fun of me, and they would just tell me like, you know what, stick to singing, okay, stick to singing. Don't explore into dancing because it's hideous to watch. So of course, I even though they were joking, I was a kid and I got embarrassed, but I ended up just kind of practicing in closed doors. So I would lock myself in a room. I would keep doing it, but I would never dare to show it to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't know I had that like secret talent in dancing until one day, when I was 14 years old. My mom, when eventually she came back, she saw that I'm very what do you call this? I was one of those Filipinos that love to entertain and perform for others.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, you know what, let's go to Manila, which is the capital of the Philippines, and there's where the networks are, and let's audition for something. Who knows? Maybe you'll make it.
Mm-hmm.
So I auditioned because there's this competition. It's called Global Pinay. I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually really surprised that some of my, longtime fans still remember that. When they mentioned that to me, I was like, whoa,
Like, dang, you've been around that
no
long.
way. I know, and it's just mind blowing to me because
Uh-huh.
yeah. Anyway, so they would remember me that, and that was my first TV appearance. I was supposed to sing because that's what I told them I was going to do for my talent portion. And then the night before, they just changed it all of a sudden because they said, oh, all the girls are singing, so we need one girl who's going to do something different. I was like,
Hmm.
oh my God, anything but dancing, please, please, please. And then they chose dancing, and they're like, you're going to dance. And I was just like,
Oh.
me? Oh God. I would just dance by myself. I didn't really know nothing about choreography. Like, what the heck is choreography? What is,
Mhm.
it was just, I did not know anything when it comes to dancing. I would just kind of, make my moves less awkward.
Yeah, yeah, just like whatever was
But
natural and.
exactly. So it's
Mhm.
not as stiff anymore.
Mhm.
But following like a choreography and with counting and all that stuff and timing and moving with everybody else, that just like made me freak out. But the night before the competition, they sent me to the studio. There was a choreographer there and some dancers, and they were teaching me the step. And I remember I was just like, oh my God, just please, please, just do whatever you can so that you don't embarrass your family back at the province. That was all I could think of. I didn't even think of winning. I didn't even think of like nothing because I knew I would hear them in my head. That they would tell me before, like, don't dance ever. You're gonna embarrass our whole clan. Um. So yeah, when my mom told them like, hey, so her talent portion is dancing, they were all nervous. They were all betting that I was gonna lose already. And long story short, I actually won Best in Talent.
Wow.
And yeah, then that was my first ever, on national TV. I also won the weekly finals, and I also won Best in National Costumes. I was 3 times. I was going back and forth in front, and it was just crazy to see like all the audience and the cameras, and it felt like that's where I belong, but at the same time, it was so new to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
So with that experience, I felt like the universe just told me like, okay, this is where you're supposed to be. This is the path that you need to take. This is where you belong. And then after that, monthly finals, I still won monthly finals. And then I remember my relatives back home when they called me, after I won and stuff. They were like, "Oh my God, we could not believe it! All of us we were watching on TV, we were literally like this."
Like
And I was
nervous,
like,
like
"Wow."
oh no.
They were covering their eyes, and they were like, "Oh God, oh God, oh God." She's gonna embarrass the whole Alejandria family. But yeah, when I won, everybody was shocked. I was freaking shocked. I couldn't believe what happened. And then uh, monthly finals, I got disqualified because they actually kind of tweaked my age a little bit. I was
Oh.
only 14, but you were supposed to be, the requirements was at least 16 to 18 to join.
Mm.
So I didn't win the whole thing,
Mhm.
but the production, the network already saw me because I was already on TV a couple times. And one of the main talent manager called my mom and said, "Hey, we have the show. We need extras, and we saw your daughter joining, and we basically need talent who can wear, a swimwear, a two-piece bikini because it was, I know, and I was 14 years old." I didn't look 14. That's why I got away with it.
Mhm.
But basically, the show, it was called Bora Bora, and they needed some extras just walking back and forth. It was in a studio setup, but they made it look like it's on a beach, like Boracay. Like the
Mhm.
backdrop was in Bora, and it was a sitcom. And I did not know that the main cast was basically like the most famous male celebrities in the
Wow.
Philippines. Yeah, I was like mind blown. I was like, where am I? Oh my God. Like, what show is this? Right? Like those were literally like the Brad Pitt of the Philippines. Like they were super established. And in my head, I was just like, my family back home will not believe this if I tell them
I can
or
imagine.
until they see me on TV. So at first few tapings, I would just be walking back and forth. The director would just tell me, okay, walk here, get this tray and put it over there, and just to make it look like there's people in the background. And then one time they just saw me and they were like, hey, you come here, we'll give you a line, say this. And then I said it, and I guess they loved my delivery. And then eventually after that, they just kept giving me lines, and I got, kind of, I was, again, I stood out for some reason. Well, number one, because I guess I was the youngest one there.
Mm-hmm.
I always had my mom shop, my chaperone, because, in show business, everybody would be like trying to,
Mm-hmm.
trying to court you or see if they could be you could be like their girlfriend or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my mom was always there watching me. But yeah, I was the only one who had that. So I stood out and was very, very quiet. They could just tell that I was very innocent.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, the talent manager came up to me again and said, hey, we're planning to launch a group of new artists for the network, and we want you to be a part of the workshop. So it's like a 3-month workshop. We're going to basically teach you, drill you from acting, singing, and dancing, and see which ones are your strengths. And it's hosting, because in Philippines, almost all the celebrities, you have to do everything. Even if you can't sing, they will make you sing.
Yeah, so they can like adapt you for different programs, different shows, and whatnot.
Yeah, so basically they could just use you for whatever they have in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So they prepare you for anything that they come up with. So we did that for 3 months. It was basically like school, like you would go there 9 a.m. and you'd be done around 5 p.m. and you just do all these kinds of exercises. And that really helped me with my confidence level, with my self-esteem, that I knew how to. There was these techniques that they would teach us when we're hosting, when we're talking to the camera, or when we're being interviewed. They just tell us all these things, like what to do if like a paparazzi all of a sudden ambushes you for an interview.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so after that, I made it to the cut. We were 60, but then they only had to maybe choose like 13 people. And that was called like Star Magic Batch 13. And we were launched as the new celebrities for the network. So the workshops, I got a lot of, information from there. I kind of saw how they would teach and all that. And it really, really helped me with my confidence to get me ready to be on TV. But still, it's very different when you're actually there, when like the camera's in your face,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I remember I would be really good at like crying and acting when we were in our workshop. But then when I would be on set, it would be so freaking hard because it's just nerve-wracking.
It's different.
It would just be yes, like people would just stare at you and all the crew members, and oh my god, the worst thing is that when you need to cry and it's like 4 a.m. in the morning. I know, like they would wake you up for that. Like, okay, it's your crying scene now. Let's
Oh my
go.
gosh.
And you have this long script that you have to memorize, and you have to like, feel sad
Mm-hmm.
at
Mm-hmm.
4 a.m. so you can cry. And in my head, I was just like, my God, I don't think I could do this. But yeah, it's a different experience when you're training versus to actually being on the field, right? Just like
Mm-hmm.
school and, real life,
Mm-hmm.
working in real life. It's very similar. And then after that, I just, a lot of people just saw me excel in dancing. And I would say my biggest break was when Shakira was promoting her song. It was called Hips Don't Lie. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember that.
really? Yeah, of course.
On tonight, my hips don't lie.
Yeah,
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 that
yeah.
song. So the record label partnered with the Philippines, and fortunately, I was one of the, you know, the I worked with the biggest, network company in the Philippines, which was ABS-CBN, and they partnered with them to promote Shakira's song in the Philippines, and they're looking for a dancer who can basically promote her song and dance and do all kinds of mall shows and do mall shows almost all the SM malls. Oh my God, I didn't realize how many SM malls we had in the Philippines until I did that tour. um, but basically, yeah, that was Hips Don't Lie, and they chose me to be the dancer, and I would have TV guestings, dancing to her song. That's why every time I would hear it, I was like, "Oh my God, it's this song again."
Bad memories, right?
I mean, it was bad. The only thing that was bad about it is because I was doing it almost every day.
Yeah, it was like
It's like,
exhausting.
and you get sick of like hearing the same
Oh
song
yeah.
and doing the same step. But that was such a blessing to me, that song and that opportunity. And they partnered with Skechers, so Skechers was like sponsoring the whole mall show and stuff like that. So it was a
Mm.
collaboration. So I was wearing Skechers shoes. I was sponsored by Skechers in the Philippines, dancing to Shakira's song, and that was on TV. That was a mall show, and was literally just me, like a solo person,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then I would have backup dancers. Um, yeah, and that basically like kicked, like just boost my career when it came to dancing. At one point, they called me like the Shakira of the Philippines. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so I was known for belly dancing, but it was like a fusion of like pop, hip hop, and belly dancing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But this was before YouTube. This was before, all the
For all
social
that.
media. So, yep. So I don't have as much of like, like a copy or whatever of my shows before. It was
Mm-hmm.
literally just like a big recording camera and tapes and all those tapes. I don't know where they are now. But it was a really nice experience. It boosted me. It kind of gave me the path that I needed to take, which was in dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, they thrown me into acting and all that stuff, and I got really good. But then, because I wasn't good at crying, they put me in roles where I was the contrabida. I was the maldita girl. I would be
Mm.
like the third party, or the girl is trying to steal your boyfriend from you.
Oh, interesting. So that was like your archetype. That was like the character that you always played.
Yeah, always. And then it became like a stereotype. And then they started calling me like, like Maldita of the Year or Contrabida of the Year. Like I would always
Really?
be that. Yeah. And then people would be shocked because when they meet me in person, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you're so sweet. Oh my God, you're so nice." Because I that's just my personality. I love taking care of people. I love like making them feel like they're special. So when they see me, they experience my personality in real life, they would be like, "Whoa, you're a really good actress." But it would be fun playing those roles because, yeah, dude, I don't get to like scream at somebody's face in a daily
Mhm,
basis or slap somebody. So
mhm.
it's a good experience. Um, so yeah, it was just from dancing to acting, and then I was also so at that time my career was just going up, 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 and then I had an opportunity to be the cover of Maxim Philippines. So I was on the cover, and it says like Stardom, Princess Ryan, Stardom something. And like looking at that magazine right now, I was just like, damn. If I knew I was gonna be teaching kids, I would have said no to this.
Oh, do you look back at it and do you have like regrets about it? Or?
I mean, not. It's kind of like I don't know. I it's not regret because it really helped my career.
Hmm.
And it's not like I was naked. I was wearing like two piece, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the theme was actually Britney Spears. What do you call this? It was a Britney Spears theme.
Hmm.
I remember, and it was just like silver and all this stuff. But anyway, there was just some poses there that I wasn't proud of. I mean, obviously, the men's perspective and other ladies, they were like, "Oh my God, it's so sexy, you love your body, da da da." But again, now in my situation right now that I'm teaching kids and I'm empowering kids and the internet is there for
Mm.
everybody to just like search.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
then I just realized like, oh my God, the dads are probably like searching me on the internet.
So it's
And then
more
like,
just like having to explain that, or
yeah,
having to like deal with like,
exactly.
oh, like I'm, this is my project. I love the kids, love helping out the kids, but that is something else. Like trying to just separate that.
Yes, exactly.
So
Because
as
at that time, like being on a cover, of a men's magazine was like, oh my God, it's almost like you made it.
mhm,
You made it as a female TV personality. They picked you as the cover.
mhm, mhm.
So there was no way my manager was gonna pass that out. They were like,
Yeah.
even though it was a little uncomfortable, but at the same time I wasn't because I would dance on stage and they would put us in this skimpy clothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Philippine entertainment for you guys. And then we would literally be dancing, right? Like wearing all these skimpy clothes on prime time, like at lunchtime on TV, 12 noon for all the people to see. So yeah, they labeled me as this, sex symbol, really sexy, um, villain, when it comes to acting. But then that wasn't really me. Like it was
Mm.
fun playing like a different role for my personality and being able to wear clothes like that and getting admiration and sometimes people who are perverts would message me and stuff like that. It was still good as like a woman. It boosts my confidence that yes, I felt very empowered, that
Mhm.
a lot of people admire my body and the women too. They and it was crazy because on TV you add 10 pounds, right?
Mhm.
And every time they would see me in person, 99% of the time, this is what they first say to me. Oh my God, you're so thin. I thought you were
Oh
fat because
my.
on TV you're fat.
Oh my gosh. See, that's when people
Filipinos have
like.
no filter.
Yeah, that's when people need to like not say anything.
And I would just be like, thank you. Obviously, I don't take any offense because literally they don't say it out of hate. They would
Yeah,
just say
yeah.
it out of shock, like amazement, right? So I would always be like the voluptuous girl, like the thick girl. And thick was not in before when I was on TV. Like
Yeah.
thick was just on the fat category.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it was so hard for me. I also had to go through, the not eating stage just to look good on TV. And I remember one time I was also part of Banana Split. A lot of people, when I mentioned that in the Philippines, or here,
Mhm.
or watching the Filipino channel, would be like, "Oh my God, Banana Split! Yeah, we know that show." So I was one of that, and I remember the producer threatened me to take me out of the show if I didn't lose a pound per week or per day. I don't know. It was like a
What?
crazy, I know, it was like a crazy advice that
Expectation.
they gave me. Yeah, so they were like, if you're not going to lose this much pounds in like next week or 2 weeks, we have to kick you out of the show. I was
Wow.
like, so yeah, I had to go through crazy diet, like crash diets. I remember I even tried like, I was even bulimic at one time because of course I wanted to eat,
Mhm.
girls love to eat.
Mhm.
But that was my job, is to look good on TV and to make sure like I look like a skeleton.
So I like, looking at your career as someone who's been, an actress, a model, a dancer for most of their life, it's clear that you have a passion for performance art and you're not afraid to be on camera. But I'm curious to know how your creative personality evolved over time. Like, what's different about the princess that started your career, back when you're younger versus the princess of 2020? Like, have your goals and mentalities changed, and how has that changed, and how has it matured?
Well, I just thought that there's got to be more than this, you know. When I was doing what I was doing in the Philippines, it would just be like every day. I wouldn't know when my day off is. Sometimes it would just come out of nowhere, like, oh, you don't have work today. It would literally be like Christmas to me.
Oh my gosh.
So at that point, yeah, at that point, you know, it just got me thinking, like, there's got to be more to this. Like, I know people think this is the life, and people want to be in my shoes right now, and so many other artists or people who are just like lining up for auditions for like Big Brother just to be on TV.
Hmm.
And I'm here right now, and I'm like wanting for something else. Like, it would be crazy to me sometimes, because, you know, like, people want to be where you are and you want to go somewhere else. You want to drop it. So I had that like tug of war within me. Like, should I like just quit? Like, drop all this and figure out another life? And I guess, you know, I believe in the universe. I believe in that, you know, when you ask something or when you constantly daydream of something, like, it eventually comes true. So at that point, I just wanted to be free. Like, freedom is number one to me. It just, like, even though you're the richest person, like, I had a lot of money at a very young age, and I didn't know what to do with it, because I just started giving it to my relatives and my friends, and literally until I had nothing left for me. Right? I didn't have like a financial advisor, and it's just that mentality also, of course, it changed because it made me think, like, you want to take care of other people, but when it comes to you don't take care of yourself, and
Hmm.
nobody's going to help you if you need help. Like, literally no one.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because they, you know, they're not used to helping you. They're used to, you know, having you help them. So when that happened, you know, I was asking the universe for a graceful exit somehow. I didn't know how. I didn't know how it was gonna happen, but I asked for it, and it, you know, it did. It did happen. I got pregnant when I was 21. I was turning 22 at that time. And I literally asked for that. I even told myself, if, because I was thinking, when I was single, I was like, okay, how are you gonna have a baby now? You're single.
Hmm.
You can't just like grab somebody in the street and be like, I want to have a baby, give me a baby. So I was even thinking, maybe I would adopt. You know, I would adopt. My motherhood instinct kicked in really early. So I was like, you know, I'll just take care of a baby, and then that'll be like my focus. And then eventually, you know, God blessed me with a baby girl, and that was my graceful exit. People were asking me, "Oh, why are you all of a sudden not going to be in show business anymore? What's happening?" Because I had to talk to my producers. Oh my God, that was the hard part. So I used my dad as an excuse, because my dad was here in California.
Hmm.
Or, well, he was actually in Oregon, but he was here in America. And I had my blue passport because I was a born, you know, U.S. citizen. I just never used it because I don't know anybody here, like, nobody except for
Hmm.
my dad. So I was like, I'm just gonna visit my dad. You know, we haven't been spending time, and, you know, he's getting old, and I wanna spend time with him. And people, like, literally looked at me like I was a crazy person. Like, you are going to drop your career because you want to spend time with your dad? Obviously, they didn't believe me. They thought I was pregnant, and they were right. But I kept it as a secret because, you know, I don't want to deal with all the questions, like, how'd you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
pregnant? I didn't want to. Yeah, literally, they would ask me, like, how did it happen?
Like
Like,
really nosy
really,
and
how did it happen?
yeah.
They want to know all the juicy details, and I didn't want to be on all the talk shows and be the subject. You know, I just want to enjoy what I asked for, and nobody would understand me because, you know, all the other celebrities there. That's literally the number one thing that they are gonna try not to be a mother, a young mother, because then it would ruin their career, their body, their image. They're not going to be the sex symbol, sexy goddess anymore. Because, you know, when people find out you have a kid, they're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're
Like they
not
have this
desirable
perception.
anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly. So my manager was, yo, my God, I even kept it from my manager too. I was like, I'm just chubby. I'm just chubby this time of the year. I'm chubbier. But anyway, so I went here in the U.S. and I sold some of my properties, my condo back home, my van, and just got all the cash and ran here.
Wow.
Came here to the U.S. with just a blue passport, and I remember I think I had like, because I had to leave money for my relatives and my family back home, and you know, literally I was the one like supporting them, and that was, here we go, guys. This is the last time. But I felt like I had that obligation to still leave them with money.
Hmm.
So I remember I think I came here with just like $5,000 and my blue passport, and with my clothes, and just stayed with my dad in Eugene, Oregon until I gave birth. I did a water birth there, and just that just changed everything. After I gave birth, it made me it showed me that I was stronger than I thought I was, mentally, physically, and that I could do anything.
Hmm.
So that was the start of like my maturity and my the mentality change that happened. Like, okay, this is a new life, it's like you're starting over. I
Hmm.
know you've never worked a day in your life, but let's try
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, so but but after that, my dad wanted to retire. So 3 months old, when my baby was 3 months old, we actually went back to the Philippines. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this is really my life, in show business. And I was one of those celebrities who was trying to have a comeback, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they were all like, aha, we knew it. We knew you were pregnant. We knew it. And then I had all these guestings, and then I had to explain myself. But that was fine because at least I wasn't pregnant
Yeah.
anymore and I wasn't stressing out, right? So that was okay. Um, but it was just so hard. Like I was doing the tapings again, and I was breastfeeding at the same time, and then it was just crazy. Like being a celebrity and a mom, that just made me think. That made me choose. Like you have to choose one only, and of course,
Mm.
I chose being a mom, and decided to come back here and start my new life. Um, and at first I was just like, maybe I could just be a normal person. Maybe I could just work like everybody else and save like that, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, I had no work history besides being on TV. So my first job, literally, that was opening at that time, was a cashier at a fabric store.
Wow.
So
Do you remember the
yeah,
name?
and yeah, Beverly's. They actually closed down now, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
Michael's.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, in Alameda. And I was like, and I remember I was so excited going in there. And my coworkers before, when we would talk about it, we were like, girl, you walked in there. And we were like, oh my God, who is that? And then we found out that you were applying. We were like, what? It was just a funny story. But yeah, I applied. I was a cashier. I remember being so excited because I feel like I'm, playing this role, different role. And then people would just look at me like, weird way, like, wow, she's really happy to be a cashier. Like they've never seen a happier cashier before. Um, and then eventually, I just kind of got tired of it because there would be so many encounters where there's Filipinos,
Hmm.
and they would always ask me the same question: what are you doing here? You're a celebrity in the Philippines. Why are you a cashier in America? I'll be like, what? I'm having fun. This is
Yeah.
fun. Um, but eventually I realized, I got tired of it, and then I really missed dancing. But there was just no opportunity at that time. The only opportunity I had to teach dancing was to become a Zumba instructor. So I became a Zumba instructor.
Mm.
And then I would always fill up the studio because a lot of my fans before would recognize me, and then they would tell their friends like, "Oh my God, you would never believe who's my dance instructor." So they would bring their friends, and eventually I would literally have a line outside the studio,
Oh my
for them
gosh.
to for them to come in, and then the mirrors would be like foggy because we would all be like dancing. It would look like a club inside the studio.
Wow.
And I loved it. I loved the energy that I was giving and receiving at the same time. Um, but then I was getting paid like $30 a class,
Oh,
and I
and it's
would
like you're
have
pulling in
like
all these
50,
people.
exactly, and I would have 50 people come in every time, and I was just like, okay, this does not look right anymore.
Yeah, the math isn't adding up.
Not good at math, but dude, this is totally, yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually I was like, why am I promoting somebody else's brand?
Mhm.
Why I should just make my own.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And then, eventually that was in my head. I should have my own business instead of working, because that's not working out for me. Every time somebody sees me, they would just like, it's almost like they get mad at me. They get
Mhm.
mad at me. They get angry at me for working like how they're working. um and I guess because they just see like, oh, you have all this potential, all these connections, all this like background, why are you not using it, right? And again, before it was just nothing to me. It was just, I was Princess Ryan before, but here I'm not.
Mhm. Mhm.
And a lot of people would also shove that to my face, like whenever they would recognize me, or I would go to, you know uh, a TV network here that's Filipino based, like they would always look at me like, well, that was you before, that's not you now. So again, it's that dragging me down, and it affects my self-esteem and all that. So eventually I basically believed them that, like, yeah, I'm a nobody anymore.
Wow.
And it just, man, that just, it's so hard when you start believing other people, when they doubt
Mhm.
you and you start to believe them. Man, that is like the hardest thing. It's like you dig a hole so deep, and it's hard for you to come out of that hole now.
Oh
So it
yeah.
was hard for me. Like, it would be sometimes embarrassing for me when people would recognize me here and take pictures of me, or, introduce me, or, they would say, "Oh yeah, she was a celebrity before in the
Oh gosh.
Philippines."
So
It
it's like
was
you
just,
always feel like it's like compliments are always backhanded, and there's always just like you
yes,
don't want to have to explain yourself. You don't want to have. You just want to be able to live your life. Like you want to be able. Like if you want to work at a job, being a cashier or selling ice cream, like you should be able to do that and not have to have people like be bothering you. But
label me or judge me. Yeah. I
but
just,
that.
like, I thought I would, huh?
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to. I came here expecting to have like a quieter life, like a normal life, and it just became chaos.